I'm a thinker, observer, the baddest man you ever heard of.
Welcome back, everyone, to the 2020 Vision Podcast. We are officially on season 2. I'm so excited. There's so much in store to talk about this season. And we have here today a very special guest, my friend, very long-time confidant, Mr. Marcellus Williams. Do you want to introduce yourself, sir?
Hey, y'all. I'm Marcellus Williams. I'll be a little guest on today's podcast.
All right, and so today we're going to be talking about reality check. That is the goal of this podcast, to really just dig deep and talk about reality for a minute, talk about life, talk about all of the challenges that we face in our 20s. And so when we talk about reality check, I think sometimes we have to talk about how we go through real life experiences but actually struggle to sometimes learn the lesson, sometimes figure out, the answers to the problems, the solutions, and all of that mix, and also listen to, people who may have the answer later on in life, to our mentors, to our parents, and things like that. So when we talk about reality check, we wanted to sit here and talk about today the importance of transitioning from high school to college. I think that's one of the biggest reality check moments that you can have. And for our instance, I mean, we came up through a COVID time when it was hard and struggling to navigate that space and having to understand the difference between isolation and actually real life, going out and doing things. We had limited space of reach within communication with people. We had to really isolate ourselves within our homes and also figure out a way to transition to virtual school and all of that. So for a little bit, talk about your experience, because I know we shared different experiences during that time. Talk about your experiences and how COVID affected you and how you had to transition back to that regular life.
Before I talk about my personal experience, I just want to say everybody who graduated in 22 or 2020, right? All you graduated in 2020. That was a terrible time for us. So it affected a lot of people's mental, right? And I know some of you could probably agree and relate that not being able to have the model graduation that you see everybody before you have feels unfair. It feels like you missed out on something in life. So I just wanted to tell you, you're not alone in that feeling. Everybody who graduated in 2020 feels that exact same way. But to my personal experience, because we had two different experiences. You went straight into college. Sure, you had your difficulties, but me personally, I went to a college. I went to JMU, right? Because I thought that's where I could go and thrive and prosper and things like that. So I'm there. Times of COVID, like right at the beginning of COVID. So we're in virtual learning, and for me personally, that is not something that I didn't know this before but that is not something I could pay attention to. So I ended up failing a lot of my classes, and so I'm in JMU. I'm worrying about all the other things, not work. I'm worrying about girls, parties, being like trying to make friends, and I even trying to do all that, I couldn't make friends. It just wasn't my crowd. So by fall semester, my second year, I dropped from JMU. I couldn't do it anymore. It was really messing with my mind. I was depressed. I had a lot of things going on with like people, very serious things. Maybe one episode we'll get into that. But yeah, and then I took a semester off. Now I'm in a community college, and I'm gonna try my hand at a 4-year university again. I'm trying to go to ODU during the spring semester of this upcoming year. So I just want to say that for those who think they have to go straight into college from high school, it's not necessary. Because I will be fine, you will be fine. It'll all work out in the end. There is no set path that you need in order for from high school to college. No matter what adults tell you or your peers tell you, it's just not necessary. So don't stress yourself out trying to think of it like that. Everybody has their own way of doing things. Like I couldn't do virtual learning. A lot of people could do virtual learning. Or some people want to move far away right after high school. Some people want to be near home. There's a lot of different things that people got going on. So you just worry about you and do not stress. It'll be all right. That's part of my personal experience.
Right, and I think it's important that you speak about everyone's different experiences. 'Cause I remember when during COVID or even after COVID, most of our friends had already went off to college, had already experienced the HBCU PWI life, and most of I know you all tuning in and listening that were starting college at that time. I know most of you were already started. So for us who were stuck back at home, I think that was definitely a hard transition because it was like, oh my goodness, my friends are out living their lives. My friends are, out doing this and not having to worry about the mask mandate, not having to worry about so many different types of protocols being followed. And for us at home, we felt a type of way because we were still feeling like, self-isolation, feeling like COVID was a burden. I know for me personally, I felt like, there was no hope. I remember talking about an episode previously on season 1 that it took 5 times for my school to get back in session. It was 5 times that our former president shut it down. I remember calling you about it and saying like, oh my God, he shut it down again. And it's so hard to navigate that experience. And I remember telling my mom every day, like, when am I going to go back? When am I going to go back? When am I going to go back? And I think we have to sit here and think about, at the time, that was, yes, a misfortunate thing that was going on, but it also was a blessing because I think, speaking from Hampton's experience, that was a really hard time for everyone from different states to come back because COVID was at an outbreak in so many different areas. There were large numbers, there were large risks, and I think Hampton couldn't take the risk at the time. But I know for me personally, it took a hard hit on my mental. It took a hard hit on who I was as a person, dealing with a large identity crisis that I was going through at the time, trying to figure out, was I in college or was I still, navigating the space of being at home, figuring out the adulting stages of, being 18, 19, and 20. All those were really difficult. And I like the fact that you brought up that, not everybody had the same journey, but obviously we all had the same path, and that was to go to college, that was to get an education. But I do have to remind all the viewers is that not everyone has to take the same road, right? You can be on the same path, but you have to take the same road. There's so many people I know since COVID that have navigated through different experiences, have talked to different mentors, have also went through different experiences of figuring out college as a whole. There were some that took off a gap year after COVID, so that was 2 gap years, and then started the year after because it wasn't right for their mental.
I support that. If you feel like you have to take a break before transforming to high school to college, very smart decision, because you'll have time to think of what college is like. Right? You can look into college a little more. You have more time. Look at the diversity. Look at the lifestyle of it. I just support that. Right.
Yeah, and when we talk about a reality check, I think you also have to think about real life experiences that went on during that time are so much different than what goes on today, And I've heard people throughout this summer even talk about, oh, COVID is gone. We forgot about COVID. I didn't forget because there were so much things that I went through during COVID that shaped me into who I was today. And I think a lot of people can use COVID as a lesson learned because not only did COVID show us that we had a lot to learn, but also showed us that we had a lot to slow down on. COVID was a slow down moment. That was the first time I had really figured out what made me as a person. What things did I have as a whole? If for example, an analogy, if you take a blender and you're putting different types of fruit, what were my different fruits? Strawberries, bananas, and blueberries, and peaches. What made me who I was as a person? I think a lot of us can relate to that being in college at the time because everybody was on such a simulation type mindset. It was we're going to college, we're going to do these things, and navigating college is already hard enough. Getting on campus and having to adjust from wearing masks and being constantly in isolated situations, not being able to have visitation, in dorms and being able to visit people, and that was just already tough alone. So like you said, it is okay to take that gap year if you need, or transition even from high school to college, because it's not for everybody. That is one thing that I've learned being in college, is it is not for everybody. And I know sometimes I thought even to myself it wasn't for me, but I stuck it out because I knew that it was a higher education, and I knew that I wanted to go into teaching and teaching the youth, and I know that this was the best opportunity. But if you absolutely feel like you are not fit or suitable to be in college at the current time, do not do it, because then you're saving money, you're saving your time, your energy, and your worth too, because I think that also plays an important role.
Yeah. And if you don't feel like college is for you right then, at that time, doesn't mean it's never for you. You know what I'm saying? it could take a little bit. Like, I had to leave and come back to college. I wasn't doing any work. Nah, I got A's and B's. It just, maybe you need a little bit of time. It just because it's not for you right then doesn't mean it will never be for you. Take a year break, take a semester break, take a 2-year break. It doesn't matter. You will finish. It'll be done. It doesn't matter when you finish, as long as you get it finished. You know what I'm saying? You'll be fine. And going back, I think the worst part for 2020 specifically, or anybody around the uncertainty that came with COVID and the uncertainty that came with like college, because we had to mix it together, right? COVID, college, both uncertainties mixed together, and we didn't realize those were mixed together at the time. Because looking back at it, that's what made it so much worse. You didn't know how long COVID was going to last. You didn't know if people around you were going to get hurt by COVID, and those were already stresses on your mind mixed with how am I going to get to class on time? Yeah. Is it online? Is it in person? Will we ever be in person again? What are my friends doing? Just the stresses of college and the stresses of COVID just messed a lot of people up. And we are still seeing repercussions of that till this day. People don't know how to get over COVID. And I still have past experiences that I can't go to from COVID that kind of shaped who I am today. So it was a real hard experience for a lot of people. So yeah, it's just real rough.
Yeah, and then the important thing is to have fun too. Have fun just in life in general. You know, explore life and also try new things, get out, get new opportunities. I think that's one thing that COVID and the pandemic took away from us, the ability to be out and open. And like I can tell you, one of the biggest problems was communication. I mean, there were so many people that were affected by the way they talked, the way they communicated, the way they were able to have simple dinner conversations. Like, I felt like it turned us into robots, and I even felt it myself. I was going out, meeting new people. I did not know how to have a conversation. I was just so isolated for so long that my focus was just straight into my life and who I was at that person. But post-COVID helped me kind of learn how to navigate that space and communicate again, and also learn how to talk to people. So, you know, don't be afraid to get out your comfort zone. Don't be afraid to try new things. And at the end of the day, you know, just take it one day at a time, because that's all we have. It's like one day at a time is literally the time that we have, you know, to live our lives. You can't skip a day. You can't rewind a day. You can only live in the present day, and then whatever comes tomorrow, you know, comes tomorrow. So leave the worries to them.
And you'll be able to get over all that. I mean, you got to acknowledge it first, because that's one of the repercussions. Communication, how you view yourself. Because with COVID, you would stay inside all the time. You had time to think to yourself, talk to yourself. You get in your own head. Like, I know specifically for me, that's how it happened. I would get in my own head a lot because I was alone a lot. And then after COVID, like when I decided to get a job after COVID, right? Communicating with like the guests, the customers, my coworkers, it was hard because I haven't done it in so long, especially with people my age. So if you are able to acknowledge all those different problems, you are almost there. And I know I'm being a little sappy at the time, right? But, you know, I've seen a lot of people go to their darkest because of things. Till this day, people still fall because of situations from COVID.
Absolutely.
So I just want you, the viewer, to be able to, if you have these problems, overcome them, because you are not alone. You know, a lot of people during COVID have gone through a lot, and you are not alone with that. It was a very hard time for everybody, and I want you to realize your feelings are valid. That's all.
Yeah, and you know, at the end of the day, you're loved, you're supported. You know, we've been together since, you know, the beginning days of high school, and we're still friends to the day. Now become family
after COVID.
Yeah, after COVID. So at the end of the day, the most important thing to remember is value who you are, value what you do, value who you do it with, and then always keep your relationship with God. And then after that, nothing is impossible. So thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. You know, this is going to be an exciting journey into season 2 as we talk about reality check, get into the very hard discussions of what challenges are brought to your 20s. There's so many of them, and also talking about how to navigate those challenges through solutions experiences, memories, also lessons that we learn and we've also learned from other people. So very excited, and thank you, Marcellus, for jumping on today.
I'm glad I could be on the first episode of the second season.
Absolutely.
I hope to see this grow even further.
Yes, sir. Thank you for coming on, and we definitely will have more exciting content coming up, and also a new brand that's coming for this podcast too. So stay tuned, and we'll see you next time.
All right, y'all have a good one.